Welcome to the Global Discussions with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. My name's Simon Hodgkins, and I'm joined today by Timmy Highley. Timmy, you're very welcome to the podcast. Let's begin by asking you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what you are working on.
Hey, Simon, thanks so much for having me. Like you said, my name's Timmy Highley. I go by IXI, Timmy IXI online. That's it's a little interesting of a username. I've had it since high school. I'm kind of stuck with it for a while. So IXI Timmy online. I am basically a big family man. I've got 3 kids. I've been married for 14 years, and my family is my main focus and has always been. Aside from that, I'm kind of an engineering nerdy guy. I'm really into the sci-fi fantasy type content. I love to imagine the world as a fantastical place. And if I could make it more so that way, then I was very lucky to grow up with some very naturally talented artists that were talented in a traditional manner where they could literally they envision something, they could just crank it out on paper or whatever other medium, they could sculpt it. And I was so enamored and inspired by that talent. And I had all these like ideas and visions of characters and worlds and stories that I wanted to bring to life. And I've always been pretty good at telling stories, as far as writing stories and stuff. Pretty good at captivating an audience, I feel, with a story or a narrative. But I just wanted to kind of connect what I was seeing in my head to what I was able to produce. And, life, I got married very young, and, we had to pay the bills, and my decision-making didn't allow me to really pursue the more traditional path to becoming a filmmaker or content creator. So I started kind of doing my own thing. I had an opportunity to stay at home and do full-time content creation and streaming, and was able to develop a lot of skills that started to, and I was unaware of this, that kind of started to bridge the gap. So my wife and I, we were lucky enough to meet very early on. We started a family, and after we had our 3 kids, I was the primary breadwinner. I was managing some restaurants, and my wife decided that she wanted to get back into the business world. And we had decided at that point that I would love to spend some more time with the family, with the kids. So we would basically tag out, and she was going to take her career and start pursuing that. I was going to stay home. And I had always wanted to create content, and this was my opportunity. So at that point, I was able to create a career with streaming. I was making live content. I was able to support the family with an awesome community in a game called Spellbreak. Spent about 6 or 7 years creating content there. And through that journey of just creating content for myself and collaborating with other creators, I learned video editing, digital art, 3D animation, 3D art, and that was incredible. And I didn't realize that I was starting to close the gap in my ability to produce what I was seeing in my head for other people to enjoy. And it was just really, once I started to realize that, I started to shift focus to more 3D art, 3D animation. That's kind of where I was at before AI hit the scene. And then, so I was making a lot of progress on 3D characters. I was working with a few freelance jobs for some mobile games and some a little animated shorts here and there. And I was really starting to develop as a 3D animator and a 3D character artist. And then Mid-Journey, Dolly, Stable Diffusion all hit. And at that point, I felt like it was a very pivotal decision for me, because I decided, okay, this is revolutionary. It's definitely going to change. It has a huge potential to change our entire history and our species and how humans experience life. And I've always been very, very, very into animation and video. I like to see movement and tell stories through I'm a big kid at my heart, so like wacky movements in cartoons and like Bugs Bunny and stuff. That kind of stuff really just made the world feel like a more happy friend, like kid place. And that's what I want the world to be more like. So I've always focused on animation and video. So when I saw Midjourney generate these beautiful images, instantly in my head, I thought, well, video and animation is only just a series of images. So if we can generate these beautiful images here, very, very soon, we should be able to generate video and animation. So at that point, I decided I'm going to move everything else off the desk. I'm going to put Stable Diffusion, ControlNet, Midjourney, everything right in the center, and I'm going to focus entirely on that. So I spent about 6 or 7 months developing workflows and new techniques and methods that you could implement Stable Diffusion to reprocess clips and generate new style transfer, and really kind of just nail down that workflow on how to use AI to generate new content, right? And so I was really, really deep into that, and the community was incredible. I was really making a lot of progress. And then I saw somebody post something about Gen 2, and as deep as I was into the AI animation space and video space, it blew everything out of the water. There was in my head, there was nothing in the rearview mirror for Gen 2. It was head of the pack by far. And I was just really excited to get my hands on it. So I signed up, waited for a week or two, nothing happened. And then I saw someone on Twitter had said, oh, if you have premium Gen 1 access, if you join Runway ML's Discord, then you get Gen 2 access. So I joined the Gen 2 Discord, or the Runway Discord, and it was just flooded with people saying, oh, can I get access to Gen 2? Can I get access? And I saw the team members of Runway kind of struggling to kind of just deal with all that. And I said, oh, I saw a large creator on Twitter retweet that you had access. That's why I came to the Discord. And the team member reached out to me privately and was like, hey, where did you get the information? Blah, blah, blah. And he was basically trying to stop the misinformation before it spread any further. And so I helped him communicate and connected them with the Twitter users, and they got it all cleared up. And then a couple hours later, I got a private message from that same team member and said, hey, I think we can give you Gen 2 access. So after that, I started creating trailers, and honestly, once I saw, and I'm still in the phase of trying to push the boundaries of where Gen 2 is and find where its capabilities end. And so far I haven't. And so right now I'm just like, there's so many ideas and projects and concepts that I wish I had more time, because it's so incredible what it's capable of. Yeah.
Well, Timmy, that's a heck of an introduction, my friend. Look, I know you were heavily involved in 3D animation, right? You were Twitch streaming, you were shoutcasting. I mean, you know, that was kind of the world that you were living in, right?
Mm.
But as you say, these AI tools came along, and they've been around for a while, but all of a sudden there was like that pivotal moment where it all changed, right? And it's very interesting to hear you saying that you just cleaned the decks. You said, I'm going to, you know, get the workflows in place. I'm going to spend the next 6, 7 months working on this. And that's really relearning a craft, isn't it, with new tools. And the text to video is particularly interesting. And I know I see the stuff that you do be putting out there, and you're really trying to push the limits of what we can do here. One of the challenges that I see, and for people that are into this world may know as well, is the consistency of carrying a character through a story or a generative type workflow. It's not easy because it regenerates so quickly, and you lose sort of the work that's gone ahead. So are you making any breakthroughs there, or is that still a bigger challenge as I think it is?
Absolutely. I think out of all the clients that I've talked to, that's the number one ask, is being able to create that consistent character. And myself and some other, I think Steve Miller, I can't remember, Steve on Twitter, he's also developing a lot of great techniques to drive that consistency. And I think that one thing that's very important with Gen 2 and generative video is that and it feels this way when you work with it a lot, is you start to view it as more of a collaboration between two artists. And, you know, you have a certain amount of control, but you need to understand that Gen 2 and the AI also has a certain amount of control. and don't try to work against it. Work with it as much as possible. And by that I mean, with your prompts, don't try to get so specific. Realize that, for instance, I posted something recently where I generated a very, very basic prompt of just a boy, right? It was just a boy, I think high resolution, and that was it. Very, very basic. And so what I did was I generated multiple clips until the AI artist generated a boy or a composition that I was happy with. And so from that point, I saved that seed. So there I had a base, like that was my base canvas to work off of. And then you're able to slowly start to change maybe the color of the boy's shirt, or maybe the length of the boy's hair. And you really start to, I know I've talked to a few people recently, and I've kind of compared it to a saying that I heard with sculptors a while ago is, you know, sometimes a sculptor will get a slab of material and they don't necessarily know exactly what piece they're going to make until they start to carve into it, and that material starts to present the art piece to them, and they start to kind of work with it. And that's so much of how it feels with Gen 2 is you might be carving to a slab of animated film, or a slab of live action, 80s live action quality, whatever. You can choose what type of material you're carving into, but you're really going to have, there's a lot of give and take with the collaboration to be able to achieve that consistency. I think eventually, a year from now, we may have the ability to type in the movement, the camera movement, the actor, everything. The way that Gen 1 has recently announced their model training, and you can train basically your own custom style transfer with Gen 1 now. I can see that Runway is working on model training, and that is the number one thing for character consistency. So there are a lot of like techniques and methods being developed within the community right now, but with AI, it moves so fast. And this is one of the reasons why, like, a lot of people in the community ask, where is there a guide for this? Is there a tutorial for this? And I'm thinking, I can make you a guide, but 6 months from now, it may be obsolete. You know, right now, Gen 2 is in Discord. You know, a few months ago, we didn't have Gen 2 at all. So it's like you have to be able to keep up, but at the same time, you have to be able to see the potential and not hold on to any certain technique, because it's going to change. So that's really important to be able to evolve with it, I guess.
Yeah, and there seems to be, obviously we've got the big players, and, you know, Gen 2, Runway, all that, you know, Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion. And then you've kind of got the Unreal engines on the gaming side, and there's an awful lot going on here. And it seems as though we're tantalizingly close to getting this right. But it is fundamentally changing workflows. I mean, even on a basic level, not animation per se, but even in imagery, the image generation that's going on is incredible. Just in terms of, you know, static images, and the type of lenses we can get now, and the type of backgrounds and moods and styles and lighting. It truly is incredible, but it is sort of a in the moment generation. But it is getting so close. And just again, on that basic level, even Photoshop's latest, you know, beta, which is, okay, you can now use generative AI to make the image bigger, or put a tent in there, or put a mountain in the background. You know, people are blown away by this, because it is taking what would have taken an artist, you know, hours to do this kind of stuff. So it is extremely exciting. Where do you see this going? I mean, what are you working on? Where do you hope to see this going in the next sort of 6 to 12 months, Timmy?
So in general, with generative art and just its impact for artists in the future, 6 months to a year, a decade, I'm hoping that it only amplifies the passionate people that want to share their visions with people. I think that's really, really important, that I want the general public to understand. It's not a magic make art button. It is something that will save artists time, which, if you're familiar with the industry, the manga artist, animators, VFX artists. There's so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people that work just outrageous hours, and they're either not getting compensated enough, or they're not getting the attention that they deserve for the hard work that they put in. And I feel like this is going to allow, basically just amplify their creativity, save themselves some time, and basically just help just get their visions out quicker and without the need of so many intermediary third parties, right? I think that's really exciting. For 6 months to a year from now, I'm really hoping to get my full feature-length film created, hopefully. I've got a lot of different concepts down. I've got some scripts written, and I kind of just really want to decide where most of my heart is. I think that's really the most important thing. I've been talking to some other filmmakers that really accomplished some things that's been just incredible mentors and help guide me on, what I need to stay focused on. And one thing that I keep hearing is just making sure that the film means something to me. So I'm kind of working on something. I recently lost my grandmother a few weeks ago. It's been difficult, but it's also been something that I feel has brought how much I loved her to the forefront and how impactful her life was on my life. And also kind of just shine the light on how important grandparents in general can be for us as kids. And so I've got a concept that's kind of leaning into that feeling, and kind of, it might be me processing the loss a little bit, but also I'm hoping that it can be something that comforts others and gives a little bit of love to others. So that's kind of where I'm looking at, hoping to maybe work with some commercials. Just basically turn what I've started to create into more of a sustainable career. Because right now I have a daytime job that I'm working to pay the bills. And it's a dream. It would be a dream come true to be able to work as a filmmaker or a content creator, or, whatever. This is my passion.
Well, if anybody's going to make that jump, I think you're pretty much at the top of the queue there, Timmy, with everything that you're working on. But it takes time and hours, doesn't it? And dedication and hard work. And it's not easy. And it's changing so fast, which is another thing that you said. But I do want to point, maybe just pick up on a couple of points that you said, because I'd like you to expand on them if I can. One of them is about, you sort of referred to it as, me working in collaboration with the AI artist,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very much I think you're coming at it very much from a human plus AI type relationship. You're not really going down the rabbit hole of, well, it will replace everybody, it won't need us. It's sort of, and I've heard this said, some people are saying that if you're mediocre or average or even below average in terms of your creative output, it might replace you. But if you live this and it's your passion and you've got that creativity, and maybe, I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your grandmother, but that sort of life experience brings to mind that it's only people that have that expertise, that experience, that other sort of element that maybe the AI models don't have, where you can actually finesse them, whether it's through prompts or other formats, to create, whether that's visually, audibly, or the written word. And I think I'm just interested in your viewpoint on that, really, as a first question, Timmy.
Absolutely. I think anyone currently, and probably for the next, I would say, couple of years at least, anyone that wants to be successful with AI is not going to be someone that's using AI to generate their work completely and entirely. In my opinion, I believe right now it is a tool that should be integrated into your workflow and see how it can save you time, and maybe even add a little bit of polish to work that might not be as polished in the past. In the future, I think a decade from now, it may be a case where it is like a magic button where you can just describe what you want to see and generates it exactly. And I think that is completely fine. I think at that point, we'll be living in a world of dreamers. The people with the most interesting dreams to share, the interesting experiences to share, will be able to share them without any kind of hesitation or any kind of roadblocks or any kind of, I grew up around people that had to work their butts off to feed the kids and pay the bills. And a lot of those people I grew up, and it's upsetting. It's hard for me to talk right now. My mom was one of these people that had so much to share, but felt like they were not allowed to. They couldn't because they had to spend time doing other things, like, working at a restaurant and getting tips as a waitress or going to a construction work. And I want more people to feel like they can be dreamers and they don't have to give up on sharing what they have to offer with people. And I think that's what I'm hoping, if we guide this tech responsibly and we're smart about it, which I think a lot of powerful people already see the potential danger here. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to do what I can. But hopefully it turns the world into where the dreamers get to share their dreams and their stories, and more people don't have to spend time doing work they don't want to do.
There's an awful lot of knowledge and sharing and goodwill. And I'd just be interested in your view on the community and the importance of community in these areas.
Oh, man, this community has been absolutely incredible, especially on Twitter. I'm a big believer in we're better together always. When we're working together towards something, we're having different perspectives offered. We're having conversations, different details and insights brought to our attention that we may not have considered ourselves because we're one person and we're human. And I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons. If you've had the opportunity to hop into the Stable Diffusion community or in their Reddit, that community is really incredible at sharing their workflows and methods. And it's just this open source mentality where you kind of you're excited to see what other people create. So you want to share your findings, but you also want to put that out there so they can build upon your findings, so they can share their findings, so you can build upon their. And it's just this feeding thing where this community is just, we're all getting better together and we're all pushing this tech to new limits. And honestly, that's what AI feels like to me. It feels like a culmination of human work and effort and history coming together and being offered in a way that we can all use it in our day-to-day lives. And it's like, I feel like it's almost the inevitable like evolution of our species to be able to, we've been able to create books, and then we've been able to create computers, and we've been able to create all these records. And that's how we've been able to progress and endure and build upon our history of all the humans that found workflows and techniques and methods and shared them with us. And that's why we've been able to get to where we are. And this is just another step down that path, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. And I just really wanted to get your insights there on community, because it's so vibrant at the moment and so helpful. So thanks for sharing that. Look, the last thing before we wrap up, Timmy, is really just two things. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you'd like to share with our international audience today? And secondly, and importantly, if people want to reach out and connect with you, where's the best place to send people to?
As far as anything to share with the international audience, when it comes to AI, no matter what side you're on, try to be open to hearing and understanding and have patience. If you have anything that you want to discuss, I'm always open. You can feel free to DM me or just tweet at me. I am at IXI Timmy IXI. And just make sure that if you're wanting to have a conversation about anything that you're passionate about, make sure you're as educated as possible. I think there's a lot of conversations that are unfortunately going on with uneducated people or misinformed people. So make sure you do your homework. And I think that's really important. But other than that, Simon, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
So look, that's great, Timmy. Thanks so much. People can obviously reach out to you online. They can find you. They can DM you. You're not hard to find online, that's for sure. And continued success with everything that you're doing in the AI world. That brings us nicely to the end of our global discussion here today with Timmy Highley. So thanks to everybody who's been watching or listening to us around the world. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, do everything I need you to do to help support this podcast. And I hope that people join us back here for some more discussions with more creatives and leaders and thinkers. But thanks, Tim. It's been great to catch up today. And thanks for giving us some insights into your world. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Simon. Appreciate you.